Good morning, students. So today we are going to start with a new chapter or new subject in this curriculum, GIS Fundamentals. GIS Fundamental is abbreviated as Geographic Information System. I hope everybody are listening because meanwhile we will have some fun questions also within the session. So before starting with the session, let's have a ice-breaking question. So just keep this question in mind. Don't type the answers for now. This is just a small logical question. So everybody go through this question. At the end of the session, we can discuss the answer. Just the fun part for this one. And before I hope everybody has read the question so far. No need to type the answers in the chat box right now until I say so. Okay. This is just one of the logical questions. Everybody must have heard it somewhere. And to start with the subject, what is Geographic Information System? Okay, so this is a new subject, new open elective for you guys, and this subject will be enhancing the logical between all the geographic part, and as it consists of three segments: geographic, information, and system. So let me take some time to discuss about these three words alone. Here, the word geographic. What the geographic says, it is not about the globe alone. It has the surface of the globe, all the objects available in the globe, and all the spatial recognitions, all the spatial parts, all the layers, everything comes under this geographic part. Okay, so that's what we are going to see in this session today. And the second word is information. There is a difference between information and data actually. So just an entry of data in some textbook. So while you should have seen many registers in our colleges. Okay, so like attendance register or entry register, those kinds of things. So those are nothing but just data. Okay, we can't do anything with those data until we process it. So whenever we are processing a data, that data becomes an information. Okay, so what does this GIS do is, this GIS transforms the data into an information. Okay, like for example, a data using a computer, it has been converted into an information, correct? So what it does is just converts the information into knowledge. So you can ask me, sir, what is the difference between an information and a knowledge? Like for example, the rainfall which has been recorded every day, or the temperature which has been recorded every day in Chennai or in Tiruvallur, it is a data or an information. When it is being processed, it is an information. Okay. So predicting tomorrow's weather. So in upcoming days, it could be like this. So that is knowledge. Okay, so that is what GIS does over here. The data has been converted into an information, and that information has been converted into a knowledge. So geographic information system is nothing but an information related to the geography of the world. Okay, with a proper system or a proper method, proper procedure. So that is what we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay, so let's move on to the session. And according to Anna University, this will be your syllabus for the Geographic Information System. Okay, and these consist of the basic fundamentals and the spatial data models in the second unit, and what kind of input we can give for these processes, and with those input, what can we analyze, that will be discussed in the fourth unit, and last unit will be your application. So in this session, we are going to see a few segments of the fundamentals of the GIS. Okay, so this is nothing but Geographic Information System. Okay, so it is also called as Geographic Information Science also. By a scientist called as Wheatley, the proper definition given for GIS is, it is a computer system whose main purpose is to just store the data, manipulate the data, and analyze and present information about geographic space. You could have gone through this definition somewhere else also. Like for example, a DBMS process, database management system. Okay, so data has been stored in a place, and it has been manipulated, and it has been delivered to the user in such a way that it is best efficient for the user. Okay, so GIS is also such kind of a software tool. Okay, so this is one of the definitions for GIS. This is what we are going to see in this section. And what does GIS does? Okay, actually what does GIS does? The best application which we can see for GIS is a Google map. I hope everybody in this session has used the Google Maps somewhere or the other. Okay, either using any location part or to navigate or any process, you should have used the this Google Map process somewhere, right? So Google Map can be taken as a best application example for this software. Okay, what it does is it allows multiple different sources from various parts and combine it together to get the best retrieved data out of it. Okay, so what it does is it gets the input from various sources, customizes it together, and gives us a single computerized environment. Okay, like for example, in a Google Map itself, you can view multiple areas from North America till Australia, India, whichever part you want. You can within fraction of seconds you can view those areas, right? So how come it is possible? It is possible by layering combination of several layers of data together. Okay, it is combining several layers of data combined together. Okay, so collecting various resources from various inputs and then combining together and then processing the data together and then retracting the information and delivering it to the user. So that would be the main part of this. This is geographic information system. Okay, so you will be going through a word called a spatial analysis in this term. So spatial analysis is nothing but the spatial, the geographical landscape, the ups and downs, the spatial data, which is for a soil erosion, one layer will be there. For water, there will be another layer. So these kinds of multiple layer will be analyzed in this process. Okay, so this software has a huge history from around 1930s itself. So from 1830s itself, we are working in this processes, which we'll be discussing in the later. So what is the basic spatial concept in GIS is that in GIS, there are two main concepts which are available. So GIS is working with the help of two main systems. One is GPS, Global Positioning System, and another one is remote sensing. Okay, so one is GPS and another one is remote sensing. With the help of the Global Positioning System and remote sensing, GIS is acted upon successfully. Okay, so now for example, you can ask me how the data, the physical data can be digitized, or the data is available, or the landscape is available. How can we digitize these data? Mostly these the digitization process. How are we going to digitize the process will be coming in the upcoming chapters. We will discuss it later. But when we are digitizing those data, what happens is the data are being stored in a DBMS format or in a tabular format. For example, you can see in this image that there is a CAD system image where it is a graph present over there. So how come that graph is being converted into a database management system? Like this is a CAD process from a CAD system, we are getting a graph. That graph is being converted into a DBMS or a table. In table, what we are having is, for example, XY is the ID or the name of the image. Okay, here 1, 2, 3 are the attributes. Like for example, what is the attribute? Like for example, let me say, let's take up a church. Okay, a church. So in a Google Map or in a Google satellite image, when we are zooming up for a particular location, we can identify that church. Correct? So that church can be identified in through a Google satellite. Okay, so what we have to manually enter is that the shape, the structure, or the name of the church. These are called as attributes. Okay, attribute is nothing but the characteristics or the special case like the color or the shape, the size, the distance, the name of the church. These are called as attributes. Okay, so this is how digital data, physical data is being entered in a DBMS format in a tabular column method. Okay, so now coming upon the basic spatial concepts. In this, we are having two main concepts: global positioning system and remote sensing process. Okay, so let's see what is a global positioning system first. So according to everyone, everybody is mostly using a mobile phone. So every mobile phone will be having a GPS tracker in this in their mobile unless it is activated. Okay, so GPS is nothing but it tracks your exact location wherever you are in this world. Okay, so how come this GPS is useful for this is that GPS is nothing but it actually consists of several measurements like for x-axis, y-axis, or in latitude and longitude. Okay, So if you are seeing any global maps or any globes, you can see the latitude and longitudes. Okay. So latitude is nothing but it starts from east to west. Okay. Like for example, equator is a 0 degree. So equator is a longest latitude. Okay. And like for example, longitude. Longitude is from North Pole to South Pole. Okay. So when a global positioning system, if you want to track any device's exact location, then it will be given in the measurement of latitude and longitude, or in case of x and y axis. Okay. So imagine a XY graph where the x part and y part positive part is there, x part and y part negative part is there, and mixed parts are there. Okay. So either a position is being given in a graph with x and y axis, or a position is being given in a latitude and longitude direction. Okay. So for example, 30 degrees north, 40 degrees west means it will have some location over there. Okay. So this is global positioning system. Now, how this global positioning system is useful for us? Okay. I will tell you a live example. Okay. For example, everybody has written an NPTEL exam, correct? NPTEL exam, or in India, most of them are writing some government exam or bank exam, right? So what can we do with this GPS? Or let me tell you another live example using this corona situation itself. Okay. So in India, the first case was corona case was recorded in somewhere in March, right? So here what happens is, now the count has increased over 90,000 and lakh. Okay. So now what happens is, if we can track the exact location of the individuals who are being affected by corona. Okay. Exact location of the people who are being affected by corona. And if we can track that, okay, if we can track those locations, we can have a data by which a reason behind the spreading of corona also. Okay, like for example, in Mumbai area, the population is more, the density is more, and the spreading is also more. In Chennai, it is more, but in other localized area, it is not spread so much. So what is the reason behind it? So likewise, we can track those data. Okay, like for example, in any online exams, like NPTEL exam or any group exam, then we can have the exact location of the students registered for the exam and the students cleared for the exam. Okay, if we track those students, we will also get some fruitful information, like these area people have been selected in a large amount. These area people has been not selected in a large amount. What is the reason? Is there any education failure in that process? So we can analyze the data and get some input from that. Okay, so this is one technique. Okay, this is global positioning system. And next one is remote sensing. Remote sensing is nothing but digitizing the localized area through satellite or through aircraft or through drones. That is measuring the data without any direct contact. We are not going to the place exactly and measure it with a tape or something like that. So we are the first best case is that measuring the data using a satellite. Okay, through Google satellite or anything else. Okay, then next one is through aircraft. So scanning the entire area with a camera through an aircraft, or the latest trending technique is through drones. Through drones, we can measure or we can view or we can record the localized area and convert it into a digitized format. So this is remote sensing. So this is the kind of input which is being given into a GIS application. Okay, so what actually happens is that in remote sensing, the data, the real images are being converted into a data or a soft copy of data. Okay, so this is what happens in a GIS tool. Actually, there are several kinds of tools also available, like for example, ArcGIS, ArcView, or some kinds of tools available. So we will discuss about that in later too. So global positioning and system and remote sensing system, these are the main two techniques which is very, very helpful for successful completion of a GIS process or geographic information system process. Okay. So like again, geographic information system, it is an integration of GPS and RS and other data modeling technologies also. Okay. So the same which we have discussed so far. So this is how GIS works. Basic concept of GIS. It gets the input from remote sensing as well as global positioning system. It collects the data, measures the data, combines both, and then gives the fruitful information to us. So this is again geographic information system. It is a software that converts into productive information by getting data from the same which we have discussed. And this is a conclusion of the first segment which we have discussed so far. So far we have seen what is geographic information system and how the data is being digitized to a database management system. Okay, and what are the main components of this? It is global positioning system and remote sensing. So with these two inputs, the GIS successfully gets the data, analyzes it, and then retrieves or gives back the data to us. Okay, so at the beginning of the session, we would have gone for a warm-up question, a small question. So if students are watching these questions, students, you can post your answers in the chat box right now. Okay, 7 is one answer. Okay, anybody else? Good, good try. Okay. Students who knows the answer, you can post the answers in the chat box. We hardly have 10 seconds more to move to the next slide. Only 2 students are active so far in this session. Ten, 7, 1, good, good. Okay, so we will move on to the next slide. Okay, so thanks for everyone for participating in this question, and let's move on to the solution for this one. So the correct answer given is 10. Okay, I would really, after the session, I would like to know how the answer was 31 and 55 and all. Okay, so we will move on to the next session. Ma'am?
Recording da varudhu.
Okay, ma'am. Ipo again back recording on pannirukanga, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so this is the question for your next session. So first half we have completed. This is the question for your second session. You can note this down. And after completing the second session, we will find the answer for this one. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide now. Okay, so the next slide is history of GIS. So let's learn something about what is GIS. So we have learned something what is GIS so far. So let's learn how GIS has been, from which period GIS has been evolved. Okay, so actually the name GIS came into existence in 1960 only. Okay, so in 1960 it was officially termed as GIS. Okay, Geographic Information System. Even at that time it was not that popular. So what is there in that topic? It is not that much important. Okay, later after 30 years, in 1990s, there were many researchers started to evolving in this GIS area. Okay, to study about the land, to study about the interfaces between that, to analyze those areas, the water space, for the availability of waters. So those kinds of researchers started more in 1990s. Okay, in 2005, GIS was in another peak when the Google has launched Google Maps. Okay, so Google Maps was one excellent application where it has been completely implementing this process. Okay, so but in 1960, before 1960, what happens was in 1832. Okay, almost 100 years ago. So in 1832 itself, there was a cholera outbreak in Paris. Okay, so like Corona itself, in those days there was a cholera outbreak, and almost 48 districts in Paris was affected. And the same case was there in London also in 1854. Okay, so they were not using a term called GIS, but they were doing something related to GIS. Okay, so what were they doing? Okay, so let's have an image for this. So this is one of a GIS image which was implemented in 1854. So there were no terms called as GIS in those days. So this image, what happens is, the red color which is being shown in this graph is nothing but the deaths which has occurred due to cholera. Okay, the deaths which has occurred due to cholera. Okay, and then the roadmap is being given. So deaths is one layer, roadmap is another layer, and they were comparing with the water pumps which was those in area. So 3 layers of data is being combined together. So this is what this does. It takes the data from multiple resources. So here 3 layers is being compressed together. What are the 3 layers? Roadmaps, deaths of cholera, and water pumps. Okay. So while analyzing this image, what we can understand? We can see that particularly there were 8 to 9 pumps, water pumps in those areas. Okay. But particularly the center water pump, it has been, we can analyze that the depth across that pump is very, very high. Okay. So we can assume that the cholera spread is being done from that water pump itself. Okay. So if we block that water pump, we could stop the death of cholera. So this knowledge is being gained from combining multiple layers of data through this. Okay. So this was happened in when? 1854 itself. So this was also one of the basic input which is available for the projection or the creation of this. Okay. So this is history in 1854. And this is similar to 1960s and 1970, where actually this term was implemented. And why it was implemented, I'll let you know. So this is the father of GIS who invented this GIS. This is also a GIS diagram where it consists of the road maps, buildings, etc. in a single layer itself. And Dr. Thomilson, who is called as, he is Dr. Thomilson. He's still alive now. And the father of GIS, he is called as the father of GIS. Okay. Actually, he is a scientist. He is from Canada. And a task was given to him. What is the task is that, so whenever the road is being dug out, okay, for gas connection or for the sewage or for cable connection or any other process, whenever the digging process is being done in 1960s, I'm saying in Canada, in 1960s, whenever a digging process is being done, if they are going to dug a tunnel or dug any process or dug anywhere to insert a cable, what happens is when they are digging something for cable, they unfortunately affect the gas connection also. So the government assigned this scientist, Roger Tomlinson. Okay, Roger Tomlinson, they assigned him to create a software or create some application so that whenever we are digging for one process, it should not affect another process. So whatever is there in the landmine or the land surface, it should not affect the another process. So if we are digging for a insertion of a cable, it should not affect the gas connection. So that is when this person, Roger Tomlinson, started analyzing about these data. Okay, and this is how he came across a concept called as GIS, Geographic Information System. Okay, so it has been developed by Canadian Geographic Information System, CGIS, to store, analyze, and manipulate the data that was collected for Canada land inventory. This is what I'm saying. Okay, so this is how GIS came into action in 1962. Okay, and in 1964, like years goes by, several scientists started developing their own theory on GIS and inserting new application to this GIS process. Okay, like for example, Howard Fisher, he was the founder of Harvard Laboratory, and he has also gone across several applications and combined it together and started running these programs in mainframe computers as well as in mini computers also. Okay, so likewise in 1970s, another GIS application was developed where the sustainability analysis was maintained. Okay, so in each year or in each discovery, one application was added together. Like for example, in one application, what happens is the interface, the several layers, so getting the information from several sources and combining it together in a single layer. This was also maintained in one of the applications. Okay, so likewise, this has been transformed from one source to another in the recent past years. So from the 1830s till 2020, this has been efficiently used or most vulnerably used in recent days, like Uber, Ola, any other cabs or any other driving system, in any place you want to check it out, you want to locate any location, you want to see the water resource available. So these kinds of activities can be done using GIS. Okay, and some applications which is available in internet nowadays is called ArcGIS and ArcView are software which is available in the internet. So these are real-time GIS applications. So this is directly implementing GIS, and these are GIS tools also. Okay, so with this we are ending the second session, which is the history of GIS. So we have so far seen the fundamental introduction of GIS and what are the various techniques available and various stages GIS has come across from the 1930s to 2020. So this is the second part, history of GIS. Okay, and this is another fun question. Students, you can note these questions. No need to answer it right now. After the third session, we can discuss the answer. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is a third segment of us, component of GIS. Okay, so we so far know that GIS is an application which analyze the surface area or spatial data, and then we get the data in a digitized format, and then we analyze the data, and then we produce a proper output. This is what GIS does so far. Yes. So what we should know is that GIS consists of two data types. Okay, one is spatial data, another one is non-spatial data. Okay, spatial data is nothing but the roads, lines, or any other exact location or a clustering area. It is called a spatial part. Like for example, if you want to mark any exact location, Chennai, it is a dot in the global map, right? So dots can be used for mentioning any data in spatial format. Then railway lines, roads, highways, rivers, these can be mentioned using line process. Okay, so first is dots, the second one is lines. Okay, then the third one is if you want to locate any area, any polygon, any shaped polygon. Okay, so that can be also described, or that can be also given projected in a GIS tool. Okay, so in GIS there are two data types, spatial and non-spatial. So under spatial we are having three formats. One is point, another one is line, another one is polygon. Okay, and another one is the second data type is non-spatial. Non-spatial is also called as attribute. Okay, non-spatial is also called as attribute data. Attribute in the sense the character of that area, the size, the location, the dimensions. Okay, the name of the any area, that's called as attribute data. Okay, so here we are going to see the components of GIS. Okay, so components of GIS, there are 5 categories: hardware, software, data, people, and method. Okay, so if everybody in this meeting have used Google Maps so far, then they are also a component of GIS. It is a very simple example. Okay, if every person in this meeting has used a Google Map at least once, they are also coming under component of GIS. In which category? In people's category. Okay, so like for example, we will go to the first one. So this is hardware, methods, people, data, and software. These are the 5 components of GIS. Please note it down. Okay, the first one is hardware. Okay, so even though GIS is a software application, for the successful running of this software application, we need the required hardware. So without the hardware, software won't work. Okay, so hardware is one of the basic input which is required for a GIS software to run. Okay, so like for example, we have seen ArcGIS and ArcView software in the previous slides also, right? So ArcGIS is a software which runs through a server. it is not an application which can be run in a desktop or something like that. ArcGIS can gather lakhs and millions of data together and combine it together and then process it. So for that, a normal system is not sufficient. So a complete ArcGIS server can be, ArcGIS application can be run through a server itself. Okay, so these are the hardware which has been needed for a successful running of a GIS application. Like for example, the same thing, a motherboard, a hard drive, a processor, RAM, printer, external disk, and monitor. Okay, so the various inputs and outputs available for a normal system. So these are the basic hardware equipments needed for a successful running of this application. Okay, so hardware is nothing but a computer on which a GIS operates. That's all. Okay, GIS is nothing but a software application which runs on the hardware. Okay, so it runs on a wide range. So such as a single system cannot be monitoring the entire data. So a server is being implemented, which can also work in a network configurations also. Okay, so that is what hardware is about, the first component. The second component is GIS software. So first component is hardware and the second component is software. Okay, so GIS software is nothing but it is like I said in the first slide itself, it is related to it is almost similar to a relational database management system. It gathers the data, it stores the data, it analyzes the data, it manipulates the data, and it gives the data a final output result in such a way that it will be efficient for us. Or in whichever way we are asking the data to be processed, it will process it and give it to us. Okay, so this is a software which is very typical in manipulating millions of data together and several layers of data combined together, analyzing those data, and then giving a prescribed or a precise output for us. Okay, so this is the software component of GIS. Okay, the second component. Okay, so there are several application software. Like for example, the last line you can see that ArcGIS, ArcView 3.2, QGIS, SagaGIS. So these are the various applications available in this component, software component. Okay, so in software component actually, it provides the tools needed to store, analyze, and display the data. That's all. Okay, it provides the data tools to store the data, or store in the sense whichever data or in whichever format we are getting it. It should show the data, analyze the data. Analyze in the sense there should not be overlapping of any data one another. Okay, there can be overlapping of layers. We can combine multiple layers, but we can't overlap the data on each other. Okay, so the software tool is taking place in such a way that it stores the data efficiently, analyze the tool properly, and finally display a proper geographic information. So there should not be misinterpretation of data. There should not be any error in the data. So these kinds of efficient things can be taken place using a software. Okay, the key software components are the input manipulation of geographic information. So like for example, in a three-dimensional data is being converted into a two-dimensional data. So while it is being converted into two-dimensional data, there should not be any misinterpretation or there should not be any data loss. So those kinds of things also efficiently taken place using this software. Okay, and of course, a DBMS, a database management system, is being implemented. The backend of this is SQL Server. What kind of DBMS is being asked? If you're asking me, the SQL Server is being implemented in the backend. Okay, so with that, we are analyzing the data and we are storing the data in tabular format, and then we are processing the data into information. Okay, and a graphical user interface is nothing but it interacts with the user in an efficient way that such that it analyzes the data in which way the user requires and then produce the output for it. So that's how the graphical user interface acts in this segment. Okay, so far we have seen two components, hardware component and software component. Software component cannot sustain without the help of hardware component. A hardware component is first needed for software component to take place. Okay, and these are the various software components which is required for a successful GIS GIS tool, RDBMS, query tool, and GUI and layout. Okay. So RDBMS is relational database management system where it gathers multiple DBMS processes and clubs together. And then query tool is nothing but the questions given by the user. So for example, if you are giving the data of the entire India or the entire one category, like for example, NPTEL exam, if you are giving the data for all the lakhs and lakhs of students or participants who have taken the NPTEL exam, we have given those data and we have given those results. So if we are having a query that we need a list of candidates who have got above 80 in this localized area or above 80% in this localized area, that can be retrieved using a GIS tool. So area specifically, we can get those data. Okay. Graphical user interface is the interface between the system and the user between. Okay. So a successful interaction happens when the information is clear, the output is precise. Okay. So that is what called as a successful GUI. Okay. And the last one, layout. A good layout window is to design a map. That's all. Okay. So this is the software component. The next component, the third component is data. The most important, very, very important component of all these 5 components. Okay. The first component is hardware. Second component is software. And third component is data. Okay. So for data to happen, so hardware and software is very, very important. Okay. Hardware and software is very, very important to this component to successfully take place. Okay. Like for example, data, what kind of data we are talking about? We are talking about the physical data converted into a digitized format. Okay. So how can the data can be digitized format? Like for example, we have a map in a paper. Okay. We have a map in a paper. That paper can be scanned and it can be converted into a digitized format. That is also an input. Okay. That is also an input. If you see the third point, you can see that the graphics can be vector or raster. Okay. Vector or raster. What is the difference between the vector and raster? What is vector? What is raster? We will be seeing in the upcoming slide. Okay. So just to be clear, the vector is layer by layer area, like lines, polygons, and dots. Okay, points. Raster is nothing but a given image is being segregated into a cell format, single cell format. Okay, in cell format, the data has been replicated. Okay, so whatever happens for an individual cell, it happens for the entire image. Like for example, pixel. Okay, so that is raster data. The entire image is being converted into a cell-sized organization. Okay, so this is what data is involved about. Data is possibly the most important component. The data has been represented in tabular format, as I told you. The data which has been revised from or received from various inputs. Okay, it has been stored in an SQL server. Okay, so like for example, how it is being stored in an SQL server is it has some attributes. Okay, or it has some characters. Okay, if you are covering any area, the area of waterfall, the depth of the waterfall, if you are covering any mountain areas, specific characters or attributes can be mentioned for those areas. Okay, so these kinds of data can be stored in a SQL server and then analyzed later. Okay, this is the most important part where we can manipulate, where we can analyze, or where we can get a proper output from this component. This is the most important component of a GIS. Okay. So this is how digitizing in GIS happens. You can see where how printing separate layers and result of vectorization is possible. So if, for example, in left side, you can see some areas over here. Okay, 4 images over here and 4 images to the right of it. Okay. If we combine these 4 images, all we can see is just dot plot, just dark black spots. Okay, so what happens is the result of vectorization. We are segregating the unwanted data and then we are segregating in layer wise so that the final output which is shown in the monitor like here. So this is digitizing the data in GIS. Okay, so mostly it is done in manual and automatic process also. Semi-automatic, it is not implemented in to a huger extent so far. Okay. So the data is produced through various resources using a polygon or a line or a point. It can be digitized in raster images also. This is one of the data images. Like rubber sheeting method means we are scanning the entire graph and then we are converting it into a digitized format. Rubber sheeting is scanning an entire graph process and converting it into a digitized image process. Okay, so this is also taken into an as an input. Okay, so how the input actually comes is that from satellite image we are converting the satellite image into a database. Okay, so this process is done. Okay, now here coming for the data types of GIS. Okay, what is raster data type and what is vector data type? Okay, so raster data type and vector data type, very interesting concepts. Okay, vector data type is an actual normal spatial data available. Like for example, if any location in India or any location in across the world is being has to be given as an input, we can use points to mention those places. Okay, and if you want to give any railway roads or any trains or any rivers, we can use lines as a format. If you want to any specify any cluster area, then we can use polygon spaces or areas. So these the inputs which are given by points, lines, and polygon comes under vector process. Okay. So let me tell again. So whichever data is being produced using points, lines, or polygon/area, it comes under vector data. Okay. So what is raster data? Raster data is what I told us, cell-based manner. So the entire image is being segregated into several cells. Okay. Entire image is being converted into segregated into individual cells, and each cell is being given a special characteristics or attribute. Okay, which we will see in the upcoming slides. So this is one process, digital elevation model. So this is also one kind of input where we are scanning the data, the real-time data, and converting it into a digitized format. Okay, so we can see the ups and downs of the hills over here, and you can see that it has been categorized into cell formats also, right? So each cell consists of several categories: the maximum height, the lowest depth, the various color formats, the availability of greens and waters over there. So every cell has individual data for that cell alone. So this is cell segregation. Okay, this process is called as digital elevation model, DEM model. Okay, very important. So this is the difference between a raster and a vector. So the real world is given in the last part. So that is how a real world actually looks like. There is a forest area, industrial area, buildings are available over there, rivers is available over there. The depth and crust layer is also given. So how this is being converted into a raster and vector format. Okay, you can see that in vector format we are using three techniques. What are they? Dots, lines, and polygons. Okay, the first segment over here. So this is comes under vector data type. Okay, so please have a clear understanding between what is vector and raster format. So these are the various data types available in GIS. Vector is nothing but it consists of points, lines, and polygons. Okay, and whereas raster data, it consists of cell-sized data. Okay, it consists of cell-sized data. So an image is being, a 3D image is being converted into a 2D image, and the 2D image is segregated into cell format, individual unit cell format. So what happens? The first unit cell consists of the characteristics and attributes of the cell alone. The next cell consists of those data alone. So likewise, cell data are given in raster format, and line, dots, and polygon are given in vector format. Okay, so this is the difference between vector and raster data type. So keep this in mind. This is a very elaborative answer. how a real world looks like, how a vector data looks like, and how a raster data looks like. Okay, here a vector data's output is given where we are combining several layers together. Okay, and in raster data we can see that each cell is being colored in different manner. So which means that each cell has its own characteristics, its own attribute value. So each cell has the details about that cell alone. So what is the usage of this is the data is very precise and clear. So we can analyze the data very easily. So that is a usage of raster also. Okay, the next component of this, I hope you have understood so far. And in some time we will be having a question and answer session also. And this is the fourth component, people. So people is nothing but the various people or the various users, various customers who are using this application. Okay. People actually uses the all above three categories. Like for example, it uses the people uses the hardware, people uses the software, and people uses the data also, especially the data. Okay. Okay. So okay, please don't leave the meeting in between. Okay. So today's computer is much faster when we are comparing the system which is far behind. Okay. So here multiple processing is easily done. Okay. We can analyze the data. Like for example, I just want to give a small example of today's technology. Okay. In Google, we can find the data. Like for example, how many people have searched the term Narendra Modi ji today in Google. Okay, that data can be easily analyzed. Okay, using just Python alone. So that is comes under data science. So this is how the technology has grown so far behind. Okay, so we can whatever data we want, we can easily manipulate and get it. Okay, so people play a very strong position in these component of GIS. Okay, so everybody uses a GIS application. For example, the main application is, of course, your Google Maps. Okay. I want to ask students that do anybody know any other application rather than Google Maps? For navigation, does anybody know any other application than Google Maps? That we will come under the next segment. Okay. So people under the people component, there are several kinds of people. Like for example, the people who are creating the software, the people who are building the hardware, the people who are bringing the data together. Okay, and then people who are querying. So the people who creates the query, what kind of query or what kind of data they are in need of it. Okay, so that kind of data, and then finally the output is being retrieved by some other users. So these many types of people are available in this component. Okay, so like I will just repeat: the people who have created the hardware, developed the hardware. Okay, created the software. Organize or gather the data together, okay, and then people who are querying it. So what kind of data is required for final stage? So that kind of data is being given as a query, and the final result is being given to some other user in order to take a higher decision. Okay, so these many kinds of people are available in this people category. Okay, so this technology is limited without the people, because of course, for the people only, we are doing everything over here in this process. So how to analyze the data or how to get it in an informative manner. Every data is being analyzed and properly sustained over here. So it is all being done by the people segment only. Okay. And the second point is this users range from technical specialists. Like for example, I told you, the one who's gathering the data, one who's preparing the software, one who's maintaining the system. So for the server maintaining also alone separately, some people are needed, right? So all these people categories comes under this component, the fourth component. The first component is hardware, second component is software, third component is data, and the fourth component is people. Okay, so we are happy to say that all the persons in this meeting are also a component of this. Okay, and the last category, methods. So the first four components, hardware, software, data, and people. This doesn't come efficiently without a proper method. Correct? Method is a procedure or a step-by-step process in which this has been run successfully. Okay, so a well-designed method, a well-designed procedure is being organized, should be in operational mode, so that the above four components are used in a very specific manner. Okay, the hardware, software, data, and then the people all have to be combined together in a proper method. So well-designed plan will address all the above questions. Okay, so is the data clear, or is the people allowed to access these data? So any organization has document, so any organization has document their process plan for this operation. Any operation can document their process for this operation. Okay, it doesn't restrict any people. So anybody can research in this area. Okay, anybody can contribute their data together. So the more data we have, the more easy for us to analyze, the more easy for us to get an efficient output of it. Okay, especially during this corona outbreak period, this can be used in several places, especially in medical field also. Okay, so this is so far a hidden talent for everybody. Okay, so everybody is using this in day-to-day life, but nobody knows what this is actually is. Okay, so now I hope everybody understood what is actually this is geographic information system is all about. Okay, so these are the components of this so far. Okay, now we are going for the application part. So what are the what are the various applications of this? So before going into the applications of this, I just have some screenshots for you guys. Okay, so I want everybody to respond for the upcoming questions. Okay, so I hope everybody can see the screen, and can you we can see that I have given the location as RMK Engineering College. Okay, so in this application, how GIS actually works is that the roads, the highlighted part, the rivers, everything is given in lines, correct? And the areas has been mentioned through dots. Okay, now how is the spatial and non-spatial data combined together is that the dot which is given in the third screenshot, RMK Engineering College, I hope everybody can see it. The dot which is given in the third screenshot, that is spatial. The dot which is given is spatial, correct? And RMK Engineering College, the data which is being written over there, that is an attribute. Okay, so whichever name we are prescribing for that dot, that is the attribute. Okay, so that is a non-spatial data. So now can you understand the difference between a spatial data and a non-spatial data? Spatial data is an area or a line or a dot. Okay, and the non-spatial data is the characteristics of those points or line or area. Okay, here you can see the RMK College Road also, our buildings can also be seen over here. Okay, so this is a Google application. Okay, now students, be ready to type your answers. Okay, I want to ask you one question. Does anybody know any other application for navigation other than Google Maps? Please type your answers in chat box. I want to know if you know any other navigation software other than GIS, other than Google Maps. Google Earth, okay, good. Apple Maps, okay, good. No, sir, okay, very good. Any other answer? Google Earth, Apple Maps. Okay. Okay, there is a Baidu Chinese app. Okay. I have never heard about it. Thank you. Okay. So has anybody heard about the app Waze? W-A-Z-E. W-A-Z-E. So some of the, yes, sir. Okay, good. So some of the application of Google Maps is being taken from this Waze app also. Okay, let me tell you something about this Waze app. Waze app was discovered long time back. Okay, what happens is this Waze app not only works in whenever your network is connected, it also works whenever your network is not connected. Okay. So if you want to work with your Google Map, you surely need your location as well as your uh, as well as your how was the Baidu? How was Baidu app? Can Keshav reply for that? Okay, I will continue with Waze. Actually, what happens is Waze is that the Waze app downloads all the required data from the internet whenever the internet is being connected. Okay, and what happens is whenever we are not using whenever we are not using the network, it also gives the exact data for us. Okay, so the Waze app works even with internet or without internet also. And surprisingly, in the recent update of Google Maps, this application has been implemented. Okay, like for example, even in Google Maps right now, from the recent update, we can manipulate or we can navigate to a specific place without the help of an internet also. Once if all the data is being pre-downloaded. Okay, so this is one of the Waze app. Okay, and according to me, I have one disadvantage from Google Maps. Okay, let me share my experience with you. Okay, so once we were going for a ride to Pondicherry. Okay, so those who have gone to Pondicherry or those who have seen those roads would have known. So the road will be very nice with very covered trees. Okay, both area covered trees will be there. So there won't be any sunlight in the road itself. Can you understand my point? There won't be any sunlight in the road itself. So the both sides of the road will be full of trees, and the road will be full of covered trees. Okay. So while we are going to Pondicherry with the Google Map, okay. So in a particular area, it was showing completely red. Okay. In a particular area, it was showing completely red. Okay. The road was not visible at all. So I thought, okay, there's a huge traffic going on. So when I drove to that place, it was completely empty. The road was completely empty. So that's why when I realized that, so whenever a satellite image is scanning for us, okay, it is scanning for the roads. Okay, so whenever a road is being blocked, even through trees, okay, so that area is given as red color, as high density or most trafficked area. So this is one disadvantage which was available in Google Maps that time. But whereas in Waze, we can actually see, or we cannot actually see. We can actually see the total number of or approximate number of vehicles available in such area. Okay, if it is showing red means it also has the capability to show the number of vehicles available in that area. Waze app is used internationally in several places and used to a wider extent also. Okay, so just try it out if you want. The app is also available in Play Store as well as in Apple Store also. Okay, so we move on to the next slide. So this is one of the most prominent or most advanced usage of Google Maps. Okay, the satellite images. Okay, so the satellite image, you can see the exact satellite image of our RMK Engineering College. So we can see the buildings, the green areas, the white areas, the lakes, everything is being visible in satellite image. This is one huge advantage. So you can access any part of the world's data or geographic data or spatial data from any part of the world. This is one huge advantage given by Google for this application. So this is the most best application available in today's situation. Google Maps, it is the most best application so far. Okay. So now let's see, other than this Google application, in what all areas this has been applicable, or what all areas this is being implemented. Okay. So there are totally, I have segregated into 11 categories so far. Okay. So the first category is facility management. Okay. Facility management is nothing but network analysis is being done or used mainly for utility management. Like any area can be like for example using the radios. Okay, the radio frequencies. Through radio frequencies also we can like how radio frequencies work for us using towers, right? So through this we can analyze that how many towers are there in each area. So that what is the use for that? So that we can see the strong strong sensors of those frequencies available in the area. Like for example, in Chennai, we can receive several segments of FM. Like almost 10 to 11 channels are available in the radio FM, right? So when we are moving from one place to another place, the towers won't be available as much as it is available in Chennai. So those frequencies won't be available in other places also. So this can be manipulated, or this may be maintained using this also, constantly monitored using this also. Okay. Then the second application, environment and a natural resource. Like for example, environment and natural resource means we can scan the forest area, how much forest area is available, okay, how many animals are available in those areas. All these can be done, okay, in environmental and natural resource management process also. Okay, like through drones, satellites, and through aircraft photographs, everything data can be collected, and we can maintain a database for how much of land area is being converted into a city area. Like for example, how much forest area is being converted into landmines or something like that. So those kinds of data can be done in that application process. Okay. Then the third category is street network. Okay. Street network again comes under spatial analysis only. Like for example, street in the sense, you can a few months back or in 2019, before this corona and all start, there was an advertisement from Google Apps itself. Okay, there was an advertisement from Google Apps itself. It was saying that for bikers alone, not for cars or lorries, for bikers alone, Google Maps has given a special edition. Like for example, the pathway where a biker alone can travel, a mini shortcuts, alternate routes, alternate paths, all those extra categories were given for a bikers alone. So these were done using street network only. How it has been done? Each and every street, every line is being taken as a data. Okay, so alternate path technique and shortest distance algorithm. Okay, you would have studied so far. Shortest distance algorithm, minimum spanning tree. All these algorithms has been implemented to the most least data possible. Okay, even the dead end roads are being taken into consideration. So that is called as street network. Okay, so this is comes under raster data or vector data. Correct, it comes under vector data, dots, lines, and polygons. Okay, so the next one is planning and engineering. So how come this engineering and planning comes into consideration for this application is, in engineering, it doesn't mean that we are going, as we are a CSE student, it doesn't mean that it is a CSE engineering alone. It can be another part of a civil engineering also. Okay, like for example, we can't build a huge apartment in front of or at the center of a lake, correct? Or a dried lake. Okay, so we have to first see the content of the soil, the quality of the soil, how the soil is there, and how much we have to dug for that, or how should we add any stones over that. Okay, so all these planning has to be done over there, right? So this can also be done using this application. And how can this be done? So while scanning the area itself through a satellite image, in the previous image itself we could have seen. So here in this image itself, you can see the color difference between the lands. Correct? You can see the color difference between the lands. So what color land, each color land has its own quality. Okay, some can be dug deep, some cannot be dug deep, some is a old lake in the place. So these kinds of planning and engineering can be done using this application also. Okay, so moving on to the fifth one. Okay, this is also similar to the last one. Land information system is that like precautionary measures we are going to take. Like a large scape of land is being monitored, and if it is being segregated into some other category, we can monitor it to this itself. Okay, and the next one is disaster management. Very, very informative application, this one. Okay, so like for example, in North India, okay, in North India, there is a always there is a expectation of a flood from Ganga River, okay, from those dams, okay. So all those waters in the northern Himalayas are frozen, right? So if there is a global warming catastrophe, okay, if there's a global warming catastrophe means then there is a possibility of all the ices melting together. If all the ices are melting together means the dam is not sufficient to hold that amount of water. So what happens if that kind of a large dam breaks out? It comes under a disaster, right? It comes under a natural disaster. Okay. So that can be monitored using this also. So how much our water level is there? So is there any possibility for evacuation in time? Okay. So that is a real-time application. Always there is a possibility of disaster in North India through global warming. Okay. This is one kind of disaster management. Here what they have given is Hurricane Katrina. In few years back, there was a hurricane called Katrina. Okay. It is seen many as the first time that this was used to a disaster management tool. Disaster management, how it was used is, right, we can see the pattern where the hurricane can travel. Okay, so in which area the hurricane could travel. Okay, so what they have done is they have evacuated the people from which the hurricane could easily distract. Okay, so in this technique, or this is just one example, like such, there are several examples where this can be used for a disaster management technique also. Okay, and next one is crime statistics. So this kind of application you could have seen in several movies also. Okay, the law enforcement and criminology department is also taking this into consideration. Like for example, excuse me. Like for example, I will tell you a real-time example. If any robbery is happened in any place, or in any mud is been available in any car tracks, okay, any mud is been available in any car tracks, that mud can be analyzed. Okay, so if in a car chase or in any robbery or any theft or any criminology done, if we are getting any, for example, I'm saying if we are getting any small amount of mud from a car track, okay, that mud can be analyzed. We can see that from which part that mud is being organized, or that mud is being bought. Like for example, tropical area or deserted area, or from what kind of area that kind of chemical or mud has been available. So in those strategies, crimes this has been implemented to see from which part of area the sand or soil is being taken from. This is just one example. There are n number of examples where this has been implemented to solve many cases also, crime cases. It's very simple. Like for example, we can track any area or any kind of soil erosion or any kind of mud which is available for us. Okay, so that is one application of GIST, one area where this can be applicable. And archaeology, of course, in archaeology is digging of ancient products which has been buried under the soil. So with and for data which throughout the entire globe for historical data. Recently they have found test products in Tamil Nadu itself, the oldest civilization products available in Tamil Nadu itself. So that can be also done using this application. Okay, so likewise there are several applications available under this itself. Okay, for health and medical resource management, as we have seen for London cholera case or today's corona case, we can use this as an application. And several number of there is actually an online app available. Okay, so if there is an online link available, so what happened to that link? I'm saying in a real-time corona case. Okay, what happened in that link is that if we click that link and we give the access to our location, okay, and we give our details, what happens is it gives the exact location of the nearest corona case for us. Okay, if I'm located at a place A, okay, and there's a patient, corona patient admitted near
area C. Okay, that exact location and the total distance available from that corona case patient to me is available right now in today's link. Okay, so this is possible using GIS, and GIS has implemented the GPS tracking position for every affected peoples. Okay, so with this, we can be precautious, right? So this is also one of the major application of GIS available. And transport, this is the one application where everybody is been using so far, using Google Maps. Navigation, the best shortest path is being calculated in such a way and given to us. So transport is one of the major applications we are using in GIS so far. Okay, so these are the 11 categories of applications which is available in GIS. Okay, so let's just recap once again. The various application of GIS is that facility management or the resource management available in each area. Then environmental and natural resource management. Natural resources in the sense forest area, lakes and ponds, which can be maintained. Okay, street network. The minimum dead end street is also taken into consideration as a data, so that the analyze and the output data is very precise. Planning and engineering. For construction work, the quality of the soil is very, very important, which has to be analyzed. Okay, then the land information system, the information about the land, the type of the soil, which is being given exactly. And then disaster management, in cases of hurricane or floods or any other earthquakes, any disaster management can be possible using the proper effective use of a GIS application. If we use the GIS application properly, we can even use it as a disaster management. That is what they are trying to say. Then crime investigations. So using the global equipments, like global materials like sand, eroded soils, those kinds of things can be used, taken into consideration for solving a case in a crime investigation. Okay, archaeology, digging up the ancient history which is being buried, and those scanning has been done, analysis is being done, what kind of soil is available over there. That kind of soil can be asked in looked for in any other places also. Okay, actually, I must ask one question. Will anyone relate this application with Arogya Setu app by Tamil Nadu government? Can anyone relate this application with Arogya Setu app? Can anyone reply? How was this application related to Arogya Setu app? I hope everybody has registered in Arogya Setu app. Okay, I will be going on with the next point now. So after archaeology, civic planning. Civic planning. Okay, civic planning is actually a combination of both the rural as well as urban planning also. So rural is rural and urban are nothing but village area and city area. Okay, so how the GIS differs from a city area as well as a village area. How the soil over there becomes, how the density over there, density of people there becomes, how the roads and transportations becomes in rural area and in village area. Both are being rural as well as in urban area, and these can be done using a GIS application also. Okay, this is a wide area where we can do our researches in, and we can, there is n number of applications available in n number of segments applicable for us to use this GIS concept. Almost this can be implemented in any manner. Okay, and in health and medical resource management, corona case is the best case for this application. And transport, of course, everybody has used the transport facilities, navigation part, and reaching a destination using the shortest minimum path in a minimum time. So that can be used as the best example for application of GIS, a Google map. Okay, so with this we are completing the application of GIS segment. Okay, so with this we have completed the third segment. Students, any questions so far? Because I haven't asked any questions so far, and you guys have any doubts from these topics so far? the first topic, second topic, or third topic? Students, if you have any doubts or any queries, you can ask now. You can type in your chat box. Okay. So we will move on to the next slide then. So I hope everybody has solved the two aptitude questions which was given in between the slides. So we will take 5 minutes to discuss the answer for that. So I would like students to type the answers for these question 2 and question 3 in your chat box. So let's now see how many are active in this session or how many has just started it. Okay. Does spatial data mean image? Does spatial data, yes, it is an image of a real-time landscape that can be given as a spatial data. Like for example, the structure of RMK Engineering College cannot be given as a data image, right? So what happens? The image of a RMK Engineering College can be given as a data. So that is spatial data. So spatial data is nothing but in a Google map, we are plotting some data like dots. Dot is nothing but mentioning the area. Line is nothing but mentioning the path. And polygon is nothing but mentioning area. So these kinds of things are given as spatial data. Okay. So does spatial data means image means? Yes, it is an image converted into a digitized data. Okay. Link to find nearby cases. Is that true? Can we have the link, sir? Selmi, yes, ma, the link is true. It was given in the time of April. Okay. So there was a rule given in television that no kind of information has to be spread by any of the people, right? So if you are spreading some wrong information, then you will be under arrest. Okay. So after that time, that link was disabled. Before that time, there was a link, and that link was showing the exact location of how much people were affected in corona and how far they are from us. That link was true, but as the panic mode was increasing, they have disabled that link so far, or that link is been not given to public. Okay. Okay. Anjali has replied. Okay. Shanbhag Priya has replied. Okay, good. Getting great answers. Good. So again, 3 students are active in this session. 4 students are active. At least 115 students will be there, right? So I just want you guys to try this a very simple calculation process. 1,6. Okay, good. 1. Students, try to answer both the questions simultaneously. Okay, sure. Okay. If you guys find the pattern, it will be easy for you. Don't copy others' answers. Others can also be wrong. Just telling in advance. Good, good. 124, 122, 127, 6, 22. Good, good, good. Okay, any other answers? Okay, Venkatasai, Aditya, okay. First is 1, okay. Any other answers? Can we move on to the solution? Okay, so now we will move on to the solution for this aptitude questions. So those who have got the answers as 1 and 22, it is correct. Okay, so I'll tell the logic behind. In the first image in the slide, all the corners 3, 7, 5, and 6. If you add all the 4 edges, you will get it as 21, the middle element. Okay. Now in the first image as well as the second part, if you add the elements like 5, 8, and 7, and then question mark, it should also come as 21. Okay. So when we are eliminating the remaining elements, the 5 plus 8 plus 7 gives you 20. So the remaining value is 1. Okay. So in second image, the answer is 22. How it is we are taking two lists into consideration. The first list is 2, 3, 5, 8, and 12. So the difference is been in incremental order. So the difference between the first two element is 1. The difference between the second two element is 2. Third element is 3, likewise. So the second list is 4, 7, 11, 16. So the difference between 4 and 7 is 3. And 7 and 11 is 5. So, sorry, 7 and 11 is 4. And 11 and 16 is 5. So 16 plus 6 is, you'll be getting 22. So this is your answer. So those who have got the answers correct, congratulations. Okay. And now we will move on to the next segment, the next slide. Okay. So far we have seen what are the various components of this, right? So these are not the components, but these are the elements which are used to develop the GIS map. Okay. These are the elements, these are not the components, but these are the elements which are used to develop the GIS map. Okay, so how a GIS map can be developed in a, what to say, in an efficient manner. Okay, we all know that efficiency can never be 100%. Okay, efficiency can never be 100% because we can't satisfy everybody with the same efficiency, right? So even though the efficiency is 99.8%, we can improve it to 99.9, and then what we can do, we can improve it 99.91, 99.92. We can improve the efficiency in such a way. So in order to get the best efficient data out of it, so these are the elements which is useful for such activities. Okay. So these are the data. Pedagogically, the word pedagogical means, don't worry, it is just related to teaching segment. When it is comes under academics, these are the 6 elements. So apart from this, there are several also, but these are the 6 main elements which is used for best efficient GIS map. Okay, pedagogically, you should have seen teaching pedagogy, in what conditions we are, or with what best conditions we are selecting or we are correcting your papers, right? So likewise, these are the 6 categories: geospatial data, data acquisition, data management, data display, data exploration, and data analysis. Okay, so let's see these segments. So these are the actual various stages in GIS projects. Okay, so those who doesn't have a clear idea what GIS does actually, GIS defines a problem. There's a defined problem. Okay, we have to get the final result for that problem. Okay, here in this case, defining a problem is nothing but giving a query. Okay, like a DBMS query. Okay, and then we have to get the required software and hardware for this. That is the second process, getting the hardware and software process for the defined problem. Okay, then the next one, gather clean data. Clean data is that there should not be overlapping of data. There should not be any errors in the data. Okay, so this is the third segment in GIS project. Okay, so getting the required data which is needed for the final output. And the fourth segment is do analysis. So we have got the problem, we have got the required hardware and software, we have got the data. Then what we have to do? We also have the people to do it. Finally, we need the method, the fifth component, right? The method is nothing but doing the analysis part. So analysis part is done, and finally interpret and present the result. This is what happens in a GIS project. Okay, this is what happens in a GIS project actually. Okay, so these are the various components combined together. How a real-time image is being converted into several data, how a decision making is being done, and how the strategy can be implemented in future. And I just want you to see one thing: analysis and refining of data. Can you see this area? You can see that it is bidirectional. It can be going in both the ways. Okay, this is a bidirectional segment. Okay, so now coming on to the elements. First one is geospatial data. Okay, so geospatial data is nothing but the geographic coordinates which is given to each and individual places across the globe. Okay, so like we have discussed before, every places in a globe can be described or can be given in can be represented in two formats. Okay, so one is latitude and longitude format, and another one is XY axis format. Correct. So the projected coordinates either can be shown in through XY coordinates or through latitude and longitude coordinate. I'll just remind you about latitude and longitude again. Latitude means starting from east to west or west to east. Okay, so whichever is horizontal, okay, whichever lines are horizontal, that is called as latitude. Okay, and the longest latitude is called as equator. Okay, so the longest latitude is called as an equator, which is 0 degrees. Okay, this latitude, what happens is it can move or it goes across 90 degrees north to 90 degrees south. Can you understand? Okay, so let's assume that equator has x-axis and going from east to west to north degrees or to the north pole or to the south pole, it is 90 degrees north or 90 degrees south. Okay, so the possibility of any equator or any latitude is that it can move from 0 degrees to 90 degrees north or 90 degrees south. Okay, so this is the process. And coming on to longitude, longitude is nothing but vertical lines from north pole to south pole. Okay, the line connecting the north pole to south pole is called as, and again south pole to north pole, that is called as your prime meridian. Okay, that is called as your prime meridian actually. Okay, so what happens is from 0 degrees north to 0 degrees south means what happens, it can move to 180 degree west and 180 degree east. Okay, if it is east west means it can move to 90 degrees north and south. If it is north and south means it can move from 180 degree west and 180 degree east. Can you understand the concept? Latitude means equator. Longitude means prime meridian. Longitude means from north pole to south pole. Latitude means from east to west, the equator part. Okay. So this is one of your geological map projections. Okay, how we can project the areas, and let's assume a graph. Okay, like for example, let me just show you one thing. Okay, so let's assume that we are having a XY axis. Okay. Okay. Just one second. Okay, I hope the screen is visible now. Yeah. Okay, so let's assume that we are having one y-axis and one x-axis. Okay, so let's assume this is as x-axis and y-axis. Okay. So what happens is, if we are having a line like this, okay, if we are having a line like this, okay, let's assume this is red color. Okay, so I hope everybody can see this image. Okay, so this is x-axis and this is y-axis. Okay, if there is a line across this one through the center point, we need to calculate. Okay, we need to calculate the area of this part. Okay, we need to calculate the area of this part and as well as this part also, which is in the negative segments. Okay, these are the positive places, positive segment, and this is a negative segment. So if you are having one area, one line across these, if you are projecting the area in XY coordinate, this is what happens to us. One area is given in completely positive area, one area is given in completely negative area. So there must be precise calculation to calculate the exact amount of data available. Okay, so miscalculation should not be possible. So this is what efficiently done using GIS application. Okay, so in projecting, not only in latitude and longitude format, it can also be done in XY categories also. Okay, so moving back to the presentation. So this is what happens in a geographic manner. Okay, and this is how a geographic point is being given as the coordinate x1, y coordinates, x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. These are the coordinates which is shown in xy coordinates. Okay. And similarly, the vector data model in raster data model, we know that pixels is being given and each pixel has the information about the characteristics. And here in vector data model, the data is being mentioned in points, lines, and polygons. Okay, so this is how the data has been represented in a vector data model. Okay, dots, lines, and polygons. Dots can be mentioning several areas or several locations in a land. A line is nothing but roads, rivers, railway roads, highways. Those can be mentioned using lines also. You can ask me, so those are curved lines. Curved lines also considered as line features only. Okay, and polygon is nothing but the areas. The area which cannot be compromises under line or points. That can be given in a polygon feature. Polygon can be any kind of shape. Polygon is any shape, right? So this is vector data type. Raster data type is not this kind of data. So what happens is in this image you can see that a global some image is given over here, right? So what happens is it is given like a spectrum. Okay, spectrum of colors. Okay, so what happens is that when you are zooming it into the most unit place, every unit cell is being taken into consideration. Okay, every unit cell is being taken into consideration, and every unit cell has the data of its own. So each cell has its own data process. Okay, so like for example, if you are taking the this corner unit place, it has a data of what color it is, what is that mentioning, how much area is there, what is the square feet for that. All this is being calculated in that raster data alone. So it has the unit space data. Okay. So these are the various categories we are discussing so far, that vector and raster formats. So this is another. Actually, apart from vector data and raster data, there is another process called as TIN model. Okay, so which we will be discussing in the upcoming units. Okay, so data acquisition. So I think we can wind up with today's session with this first topic alone and start with data acquisition from tomorrow's topic. Till 10 minutes is there for the session to wind up. So I would like to have it as a question and answer session. And students, do you have any doubts? You can post your questions in the chat box. So far I will just give you an overview first. So first, what we have seen is what is geographic information system. Okay, geographic information system is nothing but accessing all the data, analysis, getting the inputs from satellites, analyzing through mobile applications, everything. So how the data is being converted into information, and then how this converts the information into a knowledge. Okay, and then what is the introduction of this? What is the definition of this? This is nothing but it gets the data, manipulates the data, analyzes the data, and present the information to the user in such a way that it is efficient for him. Okay, that is the work of an GIS application. The best application is Google Maps. Okay, so what does GIS do? That we have seen so far, it gets the data from various resources and then analyzes the data and then combines it together to give a fruitful information. The main two concepts which is helpful for GIS is global positioning system and remote sensing system. Global positioning system is to track each and every location or every person individual to its exact location throughout the globe. And remote sensing is getting the data of the globe from various parts of the world to various resources like satellites, aircraft, and as well as recently drones also. Okay, so these are the two concepts where GIS actually uses. Geographic information system uses GPS as well as remote sensing technique also. Okay, So then we have seen the history of GIS. It actually, the GIS came from the name GIS came from 1960, but it was actually the concept was actually used in 1830s and 1850s itself, almost 100 years back. Okay, but the actual name GIS came from 1960, and that is through Dr. Roger Tomlinson. He is called as a father of GIS, so you better note him. And we have seen the various cases recorded during several years from 1830, 1960, 1970. Various cases happened, and how GIS has been used so far, and what feature is being added in that case. Like for example, in some cases, addition of multiple layer is possible. They have added multiple layers together to get the maximum data possible. So those kinds of things are also there. And then we have more on to the third category, the third concept, component of GIS. It has 5 components: hardware, software, data, people, and method. And we all know that everybody in this meeting is a component of GIS who comes under people category, correct? So hardware is nothing but the required hardware needed to run the software. Okay. So these are the hardwares: motherboard, hardware, hard drive, those kinds of RAM, printer, external disk for storage, and then monitor for display. These are the hardwares needed. And the software are the GIS tools. Like for example, SQL query is also a tool. So relational database management system, query tool, GUI application, all these comes under the software components of a GIS. Okay. And then data, the very important component, the most important component of all the 5 components. The data should be precise. It should not be overlapped. The data should not be faulty information. Okay. The data should be correct. It can, even though the data is being collected from multiple resources, it is being clubbed together and analyzed properly. That is not a problem for GIS, but the data should not be faulty. Okay. And how we have digitizing the images in GIS. Okay. And these are the data types of GIS: raster data and vector data. Okay, vector data is nothing but the spatial data which is being represented through points, lines, or through polygons. Raster data is nothing but an image is being converted into a 3D image is being converted, a 3D landscape is being converted into a 2D image, and that 2D image is being segregated unit cell wise. Okay, it has been segregated in unit cell wise. So in unit cell wise, each cell consists of a data which has the information regarding that cell alone. Okay, and this is one kind of model, raster data, digital elevation model 10. Okay, so this is the difference between a vector and a raster data. And the next one is, here in vector data, the plots are in dots, lines, as well as in polygons. And whereas in raster data, it is in cell size format where each cell consists the information only about that cell. So that is very precise and very useful for us. Okay. Another type of images. And the fourth component, people component, which all kind of people comes into category is that the people who brings the query apart first, the first people who brings the query, then the people who design the software for it, then the people who develop the hardware for it, then the people who gather the data for it, and based upon the final result implemented, the decision taken apart from.
Karthikeyan sir?
In the segment where we have the date and the last method, last component is a method. So above 4 components doesn't work without a proper method. Okay, even though if we have a perfect hardware, software, or like for example the people, the exact data we have, we need a proper process to manipulate all the 4 components together. Okay, so if there is a proper algorithm or a proper technique to follow all these components together, then we have a successful method. Okay, a well-designed plan will address all the problems available in. Okay. So these are the components of this. And next we have seen the applications where, so even I learned some new applications also, like Google Earth and Baidu app. So these are also new apps to me. And Google Earth I have heard. So application of this we have seen what is the best example. Google application, Google Maps and Waze application. Okay. So you guys also try Waze application today. And you can give me a feedbacks also later. And this is how the best possible application available for us. Google Map, a satellite image where it can show the almost exact precise data for us. The bushes, the buildings, the pathway, the difference in the pathway also can be seen. You can see in the highway also how there's a difference in pathway also. And then the various 11 categories of application. The various application in the sense in what all field this has been applied. These are the most efficient usage of this happening in today's life. Okay, so 11 components, each one having its own advantages. And moving on, then we have started with the next concept. And as time is not sufficient, we have stopped with geospatial data alone. In the next session, we will be starting with geospatial data and we will be discussing the other sessions also. Okay. So with this, I would like to wind up the session and it's time for queries. So students, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat. Okay. Already there's a question over there. Is there any possibility to track our bank account? Okay. And if we share our mobile number or Aadhaar card, then sometimes for registering in apps, we will be entering our password and mail. Is there any possibility? Okay. So this is completely not related to geographic. It's okay. This cannot track your bank accounts and all. Geographic information system cannot track your bank accounts and all. So that is to answer you. But is there any possibility to track your bank accounts? Of course. All the applications you are using in your mobile phones, all your applications in your mobile phone you are giving access to your entire phone, right? So the phone can access all the applications, all the data which is available in your data phones too. So I can't give you the exact answer whether it is tracking your bank accounts or not. It is about the security issues you have given, security things you have given. In generally, you are asking, okay. And I thought then you can ask this to me in private, right? Okay, so in this class, I'll answer your question. As you are using many applications in your mobile phone, you are giving access to that application to access your devices. So it automatically, by default, access your data, it access your location, okay, and it access your contacts also by default. So whenever you're, like for example, you are using Google applications, right? If you are enabling Google, it will ask some applications like if the application ABC is accessing through Gmail, it will be asking your email ID and password. If you are logging in through a Google page, then it is not a problem. Then if you are not logging into a Google page, then it is a problem. Your bank account, it is safe not to use in a mobile phone. Okay, so some security advancement is given in your iPhones also. In iPhones, you can use all the apps freely. Okay, but in Android apps, the security of bank accounts is not that much assured. Okay. Okay, can I have some more questions, please? Any other doubts you guys are having? If we share our mobile numbers or other numbers, sometimes actually your Aadhaar card number, it is not that protective. Okay, just keep it with you. In today's situation, if you just give 500 rupees, you can get the Aadhaar card number of lakhs and lakhs of people, including their phone numbers. So your Aadhaar card is not that protective. Okay, so just 500 rupees is enough to get that much amount of data in this today's world. So don't worry about your Aadhaar card details, but you better be safe in future transaction processes and all. Okay, so better for Gmail process and all, you can have two-way encryption process. Okay, two-way encryption process is nothing but whenever you are someone is logging into your Gmail ID, you'll be getting this one time password in your mobile phone. With that only you can access your Gmail. So that is a two-way encryption process. So you can use those kinds of security measures rather than just like giving access to everybody for your apps and all. Okay. So I hope I have answered your question, Sai Keshav Reddy. If you are still not clear, you can call me anytime. We can discuss about this topic. No problem for me. And you are asked to join the network webinar by 5 p.m. today without fail. Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Hope the session was useful for you guys. And before the session, you guys doesn't have any idea of this. I hope you have something to learn from this session, takeaways from this session. What is this and how it is being implemented and how very useful for us today in today's generation. Okay. And so if anybody has any queries, you can please share it with me, even in the session or in the after the session also. And if any other doubts, you can clarify it with me also, no problem. If anybody has any doubts, they can post it over here. Thank you for the comments. Anybody has any other queries, any other doubts? Okay. Looks like we are going to wind up the session. Okay. It's exactly 12. And so far, hope the session went well. I will give you the materials, don't worry. The reference book, actually, there are 3 kinds of reference book available in this GIS. It's a good question, actually. Thank you. There are 3 kinds of reference book available. So each unit from your prescribed textbook is available in 3 different types of books. Okay. So don't worry about the reference book or materials. Even this PPT has around 200 slides. Okay. But so far we have completed only 65 slides. So not to worry. I will give you the required material for this this subject. Don't worry at all. Okay. And thank you for this opportunity. And we will, sir, we will wind up the session, sir. Thank you, friends. Thank you for the participation. Thank you.